It's an it because it's like a beast in the wilderness, okay? That thing had a restraining order against it. That thing had been told leave me alone multiple times. And that thing was being actively avoided. That thing also killed her in front of people that could have intervened and stopped it. And yet she ended up dead, having been murdered in public, in front of everybody. When, like I said, she took out a restraining order against a beast, told the beast leave me alone many times, and was murdered not in a private square, a private corner where she had met with the beast, like the irresponsible activity of Karabo to go and hang Wasandile Manswe, albeit having put a whole bunch of blue eyes on your face. Hlongwane this time around got killed in front of everyone. And people recorded it. Just like what used to happen when I was on the come up as a child. When I would visit my cousin, Kodifleteng, where they used to stay on Blaine Street in downtown Johannesburg. And we would hear a woman screaming. Everybody would run to the balcony to see what's going on down there. Nobody would actually go downstairs to stop this thing, come close to see what in the world is going on. And so a woman finds herself in the grave, and the next morning all we talk about is the fact that, oh my goodness, somebody got killed. Remember that scream? It was some woman, she got murdered. Remember that? It was a boyfriend, he killed. Remember that? Yeah, that's how it is. I don't know why I'm pressed to pee, because listen, I've used the loo so very many times already. Let me go. Maybe it's because I'm out here talking. Every time I'm here talking, I just need the loo. I've already showered and everything. I don't know what's with the need, because by now I'm done using the anyway, whatever. It's the devil. He's jealous for my conversations, so he put fake water in my bladder. I'm kidding. The devil don't got any kind of access of that nature to my body. Let me go use the bathroom and then come back and conclude this conversation. I'll let you guys know what I wanted to say about Tom McDonald as well. I'm so pressed, but I want this 3-minute cycle to finish, so let's talk until it's over. I'm done editing, at least for the next hour and a half, while this thing exports, because my stuff takes an hour and a half to export because I put so many things in it. Okay, listen, I'm just gonna go, because at this point I'm just gonna keep wiggling in front of you until I go. So okay, I'm back, I'm relieved, and I'm gonna be, it appears fine. I'm back and I'm relieved, and it appears I'm going to be fine. Let's go on right ahead to continue to talk about Hlongwane, right? Yeah. Maybe I should just go on right ahead and Google that chick's surname, cause I must. Her story is especially poignant to highlight this particular issue in the Black community, coupled with the fact that I once had a dream, and I already explained it to you in one of my other videos, where I had succeeded to fight some monstrous men that were all up in my grill, and behind me was Hlongwane in that dream. She wasn't saying anything, but she was very desperate. She looked like she was trapped in some space, and she was trying to talk to me but couldn't. And the thing that was just coursing through her veins was, why didn't I seek out the solution that you went after? Because then I wouldn't be dead, and I wouldn't be, I guess, in this place, because she did not die in any kind of eternally safe state. I found her surname, and God willing, I won't forget it again. It's Hlongwane Marota, that's her name. This woman, I want to remove all these details from my Google search because I don't wanna be triggered. Right? Hlongwane was killed in broad daylight. The very same thing that we did when we hear a gunshot or a woman screaming downstairs, and then we would go to the balcony to see what in the world is going on. The spectator value over black murder is like a thing amidst black people. And it's not like they don't cry at funerals. It's not like they don't literally populate them. People coming out of everywhere. You would not, for the life of you, understand Kanti Lomuntu. How in the world did they know so many people? The way that their funerals are just so jam-packed. And yet nobody would have done anything to prevent this death. And then there was the brazen audacity on the part of the country's people to trend hashtag GBV, hashtag and my next, hashtag whatever, when these women have already died. But there were so many steps that could have been taken. Hlongwane was killed. Not only, like I said, the thing that killed her, there was a restraining order against it. The thing that killed her was told multiple times, leave me alone. It was being avoided, was being actively fled from, and the thing that killed her did not even wait to corner her in an alleyway alone. It killed her in broad daylight with spectator value. People recorded it in broad, not daylight, but nighttime, and then shared the footage online to show not only her getting killed, but her dead body just lying there on her dead body lay right there on the street. That is the epidemic in the black community. Yeah, expect, but that maybe somebody's gonna survive, even when it is clear that, listen, they literally can't. They won't. Why would they? Why under heaven would they survive? What's gonna cause survival? In a person being stabbed in public, we are expected to just kind of make it. But in going back then to the analogy, to the metaphorical, the hypothetical situation of the white girl that gets found in a bush, a lot of times her killing, her murder, tends to not have happened in public first and foremost. Nobody saw it happen. She was found the next morning or whatever. And there tend to have been all manner and kinds of possible interventions to ascertain the safety of men, women, and children in that neighborhood. And yet people died anyway. Yet somebody was killed anyway. So essentially, nothing could have been done. There's no retracing of any footsteps that could have salvaged this person, because those, like I said, gated communities security guards everywhere. Chick just went and learned jiu-jitsu 2 weeks ago. Black belt in karate. Survived maybe 4 other muggings, and now there's like super security around, etc., etc., and yet dying anyway. Houses getting burgled in certain suburbia that had such hectic security that you ask yourself, how did they get in? Or in this country, they're really smooth, these criminals. Knowing the high walls and the high security and the difficulty to come in because of technology and whatnot, they will wait lurking in a bush for a man or a woman to come back home from work, and while their electric gate is opening at the speed of a snail, they will then castigate them right there. Hold them up, tell them, give me your wallet, give me your purse, give me this, give me that, give me your laptop, everything. Knowing that for as soon as this person gets in the property, they don't stand a chance. They can't get in because, like I said, herein lies a man or a woman, or a man and a woman, a married couple, having invested in security from here to Timbuktu at the property where they stay. And these gangsters know that, listen, I don't stand a chance. I'm not gonna get in. This neighborhood is too fortified. But people gotta go to school. People gotta go to work. People gotta go to the shops. People gotta drive out, and it is when they drive out that then I will get to them. So now there's all these muggings at people's gates. There's all these robberies and killings at people's gates. There was this one like horrific image that was shown on these neighborhoods that are gated and very high security also have cameras everywhere. So people's like either door cameras or surveillance cameras on their properties recording this thing where an elderly couple in a neighborhood somewhere in the Cape was just walking leisurely in broad daylight. Do you understand what I'm saying? And some dude with a panga, like a machete, just walked up and just started hitting them with it. Miraculously, somehow, they both survived, but I would imagine with some pretty heinous cuts on their bodies. But that was caught by the surveillance of somebody's property in that area. And these 2 people survived, elderly couple. And the person who did this to them was a black man, and from what I understand, he didn't even take anything from them. He just attacked them. And so therefore, because he attacked them without taking anything, it says that it was a hate crime. It says that it has something to do with hatred of either white people, or what they call is white supremacy, you've taken from me, or just an unhinged psychopath if he had no modus operandi, whatever. Yeah, stuff like that. You will be finding it happening in South Africa, but you don't see it coming, right? That couple could not have seen that, listen, I did not leave the house at 11 p.m. at night, 9 p.m., even 8 p.m. at night. I was walking leisurely at like 3, 2, 1 in the afternoon. 12. Highly unlikely is there going to be somebody, listen, in this broad daylight in my gated community, going to be so brazen and bold-faced as to harass me in such open view. They would rather wait for me to get into a strange conspicuous corner, so let me walk in a way so as to make sure I don't walk near conspicuous corners. But then this guy just came like a bat out of hell and started to machete this couple. Do you understand? Yeah, that's stuff that you could not have seen coming. When, however, tragedies like this in the black community happen, they could have been prevented. It tends to be known that there's like a lurking cancerous presence around, and yet people either continue to put themselves in harm's way in this capacity because black people are just used to surviving crazy stuff, or there is not sufficient intervention to make sure that a person doesn't find themselves in a crazy little harm's way. Like, for instance, back in the day, there was this one rapist murderer guy. Like, he was a serial rapist and serial murderer in Nazareth, which is in the south of Johannesburg, where it is that I used to stay. So it was an alarm for pretty much everybody. And it was before the days of social media, so all the information that we had was from the Quran to the newspaper, from the news on TV, radios, and whatnot. But it made its rounds, and it got even to me, who was not an avid newsreader or whatever, because I was living in that neighborhood, and there was a guy who was ultimately apprehended. He was found. His name was Moses Sitole, and he was a serial rapist and a serial killer in that Nazareth area. And there was a bush, a place where he did his deeds, and yet for some strange, odd reason, women just kept dying at his hands because they just kept traveling in that general vicinity. Why? When you know from newspapers, from the rumor mill, from why would you go out on a limb and take that footpath anyway, right? When this thing is such national news, and especially worthy to hearken to when you live in the south of Johannesburg. Why would you want to walk in that area? Indeed, it might be true that maybe these women never caught wind of this understanding. Maybe they didn't know that there was a serial rapist or a serial killer there. Maybe they were ignorant, or maybe they were like what I used to be like when I was in high school, right? Because safety for black girls, black boys it's not paramounted, it's not pinnacled, it's not put on a mountaintop and shouted as with a bashing chimpanzee out here bashing its chest on that mountaintop like King Kong. It's not ululated, because by any means necessary, just get through life. Do what you need to do to get through life, and let's hope that you're okay for the larger majority. So, I mean, how are you going to ascertain that your children are maintained in safety when you, I guess, maybe don't have the resources to make sure that they're in safety or the energy? Listen, I will put this out there. It's a thing. I don't know about you. Don't know if you can relate or what, but Black parenting, when I was on the come up, I kid you not, it was exceptionally lazy. It was excruciatingly lazy. It's like these kids that just raised themselves, like they got themselves. Lazy parenting, where if a child complains about some issue at school, I deal with it yourself. I don't know how many times whenever we had scratches, or whenever there were brawls, or whenever we were bullied as Black kids. And I mean, a lot of content creators make this a joke, but yeah, it just became kind of calamitous in my life, and it stopped being funny, right? Where it is that a Black parent, you be going back home from school with like a button out of place, and the parent will basically just kind of like, rebuff you on some, I hope you gave the other person a triple blue eye, or they will say, like, whatever, like, what did you do? Or they will blame it on you, your blue eye, or your shirt that's lost a button, your shirt that has lost a button. Your Black parent will literally say, do you think I've got money to keep on buying you new shirts since you keep on getting into fights at school? Do you think I've got money to spend on new shirts? Do you think that my money grows on trees? You will literally get yelled at having been bullied, completely innocent, coming back from school, and somebody decided just to rough you up until your button popped, and then your parent will literally be yelling at you for not taking care of your shirts better. Like, there is always just this blame culture on Black kids. They blame you first before they will even get their ears on the ground to listen as to what in the world caused that issue on your shirt. So long story, what I'm trying to explain is that Black parenting is not hands-on, and a lot of it, I'm of course not blanket painting, because I have had some stupid little girl that was very spoiled in my come up, that we had a little disagreement on the school playground, and the next day her mother was all up in the school out here fighting little children, right, on behalf of her daughter. But that was a rare event. You will be bullied dangerously, kind of stuff that can make some children commit suicide, and you will either keep quiet about it because you anticipate nothing is going to get done, or you will say something and then be entirely rebuffed, and then you will run to your mom with like a pretty heinous cut on your knee, and she will be like, I'm about to put Dettol and antiseptic on that. I'm cleaning your wound, so keep quiet. Like, when you're crying, they say keep quiet. My grandfather used to hit us, like if we broke a cup while washing dishes, he would hit us for breaking crockery. And then if we did cry, because he was hitting us and it hurt, it burned, he would then hit us even more. He would beat us even more strongly and say, I will give you a reason to cry, so shut up. So essentially, you were supposed to just keep quiet and swallow your tears, swallow your saliva, until he was done whipping you with that belt. Otherwise, you were going to receive more beatings, because I'm going to give you a reason to cry. So you better make sure that slippery process of washing dishes does not result in a dish being broken. So essentially, negative reinforcement was their best friend, but never any positive reinforcement, never any balance as to how to rear a child. And like I said, parenting that's very, very lazy. Not only are you always in deserve of being blamed for whatever it is that might have even happened to you, not only do you deserve whatever it is that happened to you, but if at all you raise issues, largely you will be ignored. You will be pretty much written off as a nice storyteller. Like, okay, you've told me. Okay, I know now. Sure. But actually intervene, actually embark on a process to do something about it. No, nothing of that nature. So Black children have issues sometimes in school that they just ignore, or they don't say anything about it. They one day just get really withdrawn. And when a kid gets withdrawn, listen, when I was in school, there was this boy that was just really ridiculously quiet, like just comprehensively quiet, could not say a thing, failed horrifically in school. Black boy, Mayfair Convent, failed horrifically in okay, so I went to Mayfair Convent in Standard 1, so that would be grade 3, and then grade 4, grade 5, and then in grade 5 I left. So this boy, I was in the same class as him in Standard 2 and 3, so that would be grade 4 and 5, right? Just before I left, he barely made it. He just kind of scraped through school, and he was a frustration in the worst way. He was a frustration in the worst way to teachers, a Black boy, and he was extremely quiet and just kind of sat around. Like, I don't even know how he passed the one grade that I moved from one grade to the next with him. Lo and behold, there then was a drive at school. Tell me how the parents did not see this at home. And also tell me how our grade 2 and a grade 3 teacher did not see it. Listen, I am not kidding. This boy was always being made to stand against the wall for failing spelling test and everything, because he would always come up with 0 or whatever. It's like he couldn't even write or read. I don't know, like I said, how he passed into the next grade. I always thought he was just stupid. Yeah, okay, lo and behold, there then is an optometry drive. That's where it is that we had optometrists come to school and speak to us about eye care. And one day an optometrist comes into the class to explain to us what they do in their profession, blah blah blah, and to also test us for eyesight issues in class, because they knew that there were some kids that didn't see properly, struggled, and however whose parents were not aware. So thank God for that optometry drive. Thank God for that optometry drive, because this boy being dead quiet in school would never have even volunteered. This thing, it mustn't give me a glitch. This boy being dead quiet in school and being as shy as he was, just withdrawn, would never have volunteered for any experiment, anything anybody want to choose and whatnot. So thank God that he was chosen by the optometrist in Jeffela, like out of the blue. The optometrist that came to speak to us to do an experiment on all the children was like, you little boy, you over there, come, let's check your eye button. They tested this boy's eyes in front of the whole class, and it turned out that he was, listen, practically blind. Almost. He couldn't see a single thing. His whole entire world was blurry. He wasn't able to see on the school playground, in traffic. I don't even know how he avoided getting hit by cars. Everything was just a figure, a silhouette of blur. And so when we were all being taught ABC 1, 2, 3 and triangles and whatnot, this boy couldn't see jack. He couldn't see the board. He couldn't see what a triangle looks like. He couldn't see what an A, a B, a C, a D, a E looks like, unless he was in very close proximity to it. So maybe that's how he passed, insofar as he was able to see it in close proximity. But there at a distance, when a teacher is teaching, nothing. 2 years I was with this boy. I found him in the school and I left him in the school. But by the time I left him, he was 4-eye, 5-eye, 6-eye. He was wearing glasses that thick. The teacher was evidently, I could see it in her face, a white woman, ashamed of herself, because she always used to put him on detention. She always used to make him stand against the wall, because all the people that would fail spelling tests, she would put them against the wall and say, what do you have to say for yourself? Count up to 100. Like, yeah, he was always being punished, and basically he was regarded as very stupid. He was also quiet. When asked questions in class, he would literally just keep quiet. Let's say his name was Tepo. The teacher would be like, Tepo, what do you think? And Tepo, he would just quiet, like just nothing, not even, ma'am, I don't know, nothing. When asked to read, he would just be like, like this boy was just a zombie, like listen, a zombie in the class. And it turned out that his issue was an eye issue. Listen, this is standard 3, grade 5. How old are you at that stage, like 12? 11, right? You're 11. How do you get to the age of 11 with that kind of eye issue and nobody knows? How are you that blind for 11 years and nobody not see that you need glasses? That boy was in a multiracial school with some pretty decent school fees. So his parents were obviously parents of means. It was not, a government school. It was a private school. Mayfair Convent was a private school. So his parents were of means. Mayfair Convent was a private school, and so therefore his parents were parents of means. All right? And a boy like that, there's no way that he would have come into the school via scholarship, so his parents could afford fees for a private school, a private primary school. How did they not know that their child struggled to see? Black parenting is just lazy. Just a lack of observation. It's like a child will just raise itself. A kid will just move from year to year and just be okay. All you need to do is make sure that by the age of 6, they enroll in a primary school. By the age of, make sure that once they get, as soon as they get to grade 7, you must now start looking for high schools. And then after they get to matric, you can help them along in the journey of looking for a university if they want to, but after that, they're on their own. It's like you just gotta make sure that they get to school and come back. But it's just lazy parenting. And when it comes to things like bullying, when it comes to things like, kids suddenly getting withdrawn, she's not herself, or he's not himself, you're regarded as having an attitude. You're regarded as, you care about guys, like proper. I've got here, when I was 20 years old, I was exceptionally suicidal. Because I had lost everything. My mom was not paying for my school fees. And so I had nothing and nowhere to go, and I had what they call clinical depression. I self-diagnosed because I once went to Bloody Clinic to go and test for HIV, and I went and I grabbed a whole bunch of pamphlets over there. And among the pamphlets was one that spoke of clinical depression. And when then I read all the symptoms that make for clinical depression, I was like, listen, I've got this thing. So I self-diagnosed, but I was heavily suicidal. And before going to Bloody Clinic, before that, I've already explained to you when the first time I took an HIV test, I told you guys that I went and I took it because I had some like crazy ex-boyfriend that was very, very hectic. that once pressurized me into having sex without protection. And I was always scared for the past 2 years, all throughout my first and second year at varsity. And now that I had been made to drop out of school because my mom wasn't paying my fees, I was like, I have nothing to lose. So if I test positive for HIV, I'm gonna kill myself. I was on a suicide mission. Listen, I was gonna kill myself. And so where it is that I took this test was at Clinic, but before then I was staying in Hlongwane with my aunt because my mom had moved to KZN and completely forgotten about me. She had left me alone to rise with no school, no nothing, no job, nothing, no strings pulled, nothing. Nobody was even trying to help me of an adult in the family to at least get like some job in corporate South Africa. They were all employed in corporate South Africa. Listen, this is the second time that they're doing this to me. I was at the precipice of death and I go to Clinic and I test for HIV, came out negative. That story I've already explained it in one of my other videos, so you're gonna have to listen to it, right? But when I was there, it's a clinic, so they had pamphlets all over the show, and one of the pamphlets was one for clinical depression, and I picked it up, and I went home and I read it, and I was like, oh my goodness, I picked it up and I read it, and I was like, oh my goodness, I have this thing. All of the symptoms of depression, I've got them. Like I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't focus, and I was ideating suicide like all day and all night, all day and all night. I was like, look at me, I've got clinical depression. Before Clinic, however, before I picked up a pamphlet and so self-diagnosed and realized that I needed help, I got to a point where I eventually took a Greyhound myself and went to Durban and asked my mom to take me to a shrink. And she indeed took me to one, and the shrink asked me, what would you do if you don't get the learnership at Liberty Life? And I told her, I don't know, lady. I'm not gonna guarantee that I'm not gonna end my life. Yo, guys, I've had a life, ne? Anyway, whatever. Before self-diagnosing with clinical depression, before realizing that I had a mental illness, essentially, that was penned with like surgical precision to describe my symptoms, I was staying at my aunt's house, because my mom, like I said, my mom had lost herself, a job and whatnot, and so we had to move from a place where we had our own apartment to back room. And then when she moved to KZN, because I wanted to stay in Johannesburg for education for school, and I knew that the best opportunities were here. Once she at my aunt's house in Hlongwane, and not my cousin, during that season, because I had, nothing, and I was going nowhere. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was depressed, and everybody, there's an every man for himself mindset in the black community, like a wonke umuntu is going through something here, Karabo. Understand, we are, well, not in totality, while my mom might have been going through life, in totality we are a middle class family. Nobody here is going through so much that can nobody focus on a person's emotional condition. People were self-sufficient and with enough life gladness to focus on a person amidst them that is going through literally too much. Do you understand? It was not so, it's not like we were not living in Mkuku, all of us, and having to pick up rainwater with buckets that's leaking through shacks. No, middle class house with comfortable bedrooms and hot water bottles and God every so often, like just very happy life. My cousin was even chubby. You can't afford, when you have that kind of ease in life, to not care that somebody could die in front of you. And I was so depressed and so suicidal, yet to know that I've got what they call clinical depression, that I sat down one day in all that macabre. I sat down one day in all that melancholy, that macabre, right? And I grabbed a razor. I was looking for attention. I did not know what in the world was going on. I did not know whether I was coming or going. I wanted my family to intervene. I wanted them to do something about my situation. Help me. Don't you see? I'm dying inside. And I sat on the floor in front of some rooms at the back, and I grabbed a razor and I started to cut at my wrist, close enough to them, hoping that they would see this thing. And so be like, Karabo, why are you doing that? Stop. Listen, I still have the scar. I am not lying to you. Yeah, you see this? I thought it would fade because I wasn't brave enough to go all the way deep in, but I was smart enough to know that this kind of cut is not gonna do it. It's rather gonna be this cut. I knew that cutting this way might kill me, but I also did not want to die. I just wanted help. I didn't want to die, I just wanted help. And I was also scared of death because every time I wanted to end my life, I would remember something that my friend said in high school, that during break, she said that when a person commits suicide, they go to hell. So that's the reason why I stayed alive. But I frankly wanted to die. However, I didn't really want to die. I just wanted help. I wanted intervention. I was going through too much. I was losing everything and nobody appeared to care. I was a young woman that had lost all purpose. I no longer had anything to look forward to. And then I started cutting myself in front of everybody. My aunt and my cousin and everybody was just walking around Kontlu in the yard. My cousin, who used to be my best friend at some point, a boy, sees the blood on my wrist because I cut enough for there to be sprinkles of blood. Like, yeah, a blade. And as soon as he said that, he was like, man. Oh my goodness, guys, you know what? Black people, when I say I am divorced from you, listen, I am done. I knew from the time when I was a child that whatever this cold energy is amidst you, I didn't want it. I knew upon looking around everywhere else and upon watching enough TV, that's what I rather wanted. When I was dating my ex-boyfriend, even I told him, I was like, when I have a family, I want to have a family that is full of love, that hugs, and I want to be a wife to a man. The two of us must be willing to be affectionate in front of our children, because I don't want the roommate thing that I see so very many times in black families. I told my ex that at the time when we were dating, because I guess he was at the time a prospective for a husband. I was like, I want warmth in my family. I said to my ex-boyfriend, I want warmth in my family. I want love. I want phone calls all the day long, and I want our children to see us hugging and kissing and basically being affectionate so they can know their parents love each other. I don't want a roommate situation, because that's all that there is. And I also told my ex-boyfriend that in my family it's cold. It's a cold, like it's just absolutely cold. It's freezing, and even then it's dry ice. So while it might be cold, if it touches your skin it burns. I don't want dry ice. I knew from the time I was, never mind when I dated my ex I was 22. The first year we were together I was 22. But even before then, long guys, as in like primary school, I looked around and I was like, this is cold. My mom was negligent. People were aloof. Parenting was standoffish and lazy. And I knew that I didn't want it. I knew that I wanted a huggy, touchy, feely, kissy, what's wrong, baby? Are you okay? Concerned atmosphere. And I knew that I didn't have it and that I wasn't going to receive it. I knew that I wasn't growing up in the midst of it. I knew that I could not demand it. I could not ask it of my atmosphere. But I also knew that while I cannot ask it from these who encircle me, I can certainly cultivate it. I can certainly long for it, desire it, and I can certainly in the future ascertain it. Because I can create it. I can seek it out for my children and my family, my husband, my own nuclear family. I'm gonna seek it out, even though I don't have it. So I had a climate of acceptance in my heart that I don't have it, but I also knew that I'm not gonna maintain this thing. I'm not gonna be my mother's daughter, and I'm also not gonna be my father's daughter. I'm not gonna be my sister's sibling. I'm not gonna be my cousin's cousin. I'm not gonna be my grandmother's grandchild. I am not going to be my family member's family member. I am going to build something from scratch, from the foundation where it is that I had none, because I've watched enough TV, and in and of myself I had an angst awarded me by God to know that this is not how family should be. Just a very standoffish, like lackadaisical, removed, aloof parenting style where you hope your children are going to basically get to the age of 98 without facing calamity, and largely like people get to 98 without facing calamity, but yes, like at the striving. Just the fact that there is no sense of protection that children can feel, just an assurance that they're gonna be okay. I cannot. Listen, I cannot. For the life of me, I cannot. Apparently, allegedly, Hlongwane Maroda, who passed away, used to lament a lot to Yona boyfriend that day, that killed her, right? From his own words. Because, you know, these people, after they murder women, or after they hurt women, or when they want to highlight to women that I got you, when they want to highlight to women that I got you and don't nobody else got you, they will literally remind you that, remember when we were in bed together before you got so mad at me and broke up with me, dumped me, considered me violent enough to get a restraining order against me? When we were busy spooning in bed, you told me that your dad is standoffish, removed, aloof, absent, could not care less what's going on with you. Yeah, that dad of yours, if it was not for me, you would not have gotten solace and comfort pertaining him. The reason why there is so much gender-based violence in the black community and so many entitled, crazy, like monstrous men that feel as if though women owe them the world is because these women broke up just like I did with my ex-boyfriend, and they tell him, maybe, you know, when we get married, or if we get married, I want a warmer situation because where I come from, there's not enough love, there's not enough kush, there's not enough comfort. When days are happy and you're spooning with the man with whom you're fornicating in bed, you be out here telling him how there's no love from your dad, he's deadbeat, he didn't pay your fees, he didn't care what happened with you. Frankly, you raised yourself just to the steam of determination. You tell him these stories thinking that he's gonna have compassion and love you more than a man ever can, precisely because you long for that love and you have a desire to cultivate it in a new family. Instead, it gets used against us in the black community by men who feel as if, though, listen, if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have proper love. And then when he's busy explaining how it is that he feels guilty for killing you, he wishes he hadn't done that, he hadn't done it, because that's what happened with Hlongwane. The man kills her, then gets on social media. Listen, it's a thing. Go and check out the story. Hlongwane Maroda. Hlongwane spelled Kgauggelom, and then surname is Marota. This guy murdered this woman in public, and then went and stabbed the girlfriend that he was with at the time that survived it, and then recorded a video with blood splatter on his shirt and posted it on social media. I believe the social media in particular that he posted on was TikTok. But of course it made its way also to YouTube and the news networks and whatnot, so you can find it on YouTube, where this guy was literally saying that I didn't mean to kill her, I wish I hadn't done it, I am regretful. But even she said that. I don't know why she put a restraining order against me. I've done so many things for her. I took care of her, and her dad didn't even love her all that much and was not there for her. Neither was her mom. Like, nobody in her family gave her the kind of love that I gave her. So he then felt entitled to essentially everything of her juice. And when then she didn't give him everything of her juice, he saw it fit to end her. When she dumped him because she saw that he was violent, he killed her, because that's just a black girl story, right? We offload the fact that we come from these cold places. We offload the fact that we come from these cold environments where even though we're very cute girls that dads ought to dote over, even though we are very beautiful teenage girls that moms ought to be very proud of, nonetheless we were completely ignored. And then you tell your boyfriend, you know, I was a star student in high school, but my mom didn't even care to collect one report. You tell this guy this thing while you're still spooning in bed in your fornication exploits, and then one day it becomes the reason why he feels like he's gonna kill you, because how dare you dump me after I comfort you following your irresponsible family's coldness. What the heck? Like, black people, I'm done with you. I'm done. Call me a coconut and Oreo Angnandaba. I will be that thing any day right now. Because ever since I was a child, I told myself that I want more than this, and I figured that it was possible to find it, of course, in the black community. Why wouldn't it exist? Because if I had a longing for it, then therefore there must be people who indeed also had a longing for it. So I could find solace elsewhere if I didn't have it before. But, I mean, I'm 41 now. And I've been trudging through these streets trying to find love. And I have not only not found it in the black community, but I have been denied it by black people. Because we all must just take in our stride the fact that enough for us to wait for a woman to die because you hoped she wouldn't. Wait for a woman to die because you hoped she wouldn't end up in a casket. Except, is that not just what's happening to me right now? Anyway, whatever. So this cousin of mine, that was at some point my very bomba best, thoroughly saw the blood on my wrist as I'm busy cutting myself for attention. I didn't want to die. And he was like, I still like dinner man Karabo. Wait, snacks. I mean, I stopped cutting, but I also got cut somewhere else. My heart. I realized no one cares. And since I didn't want to die, listless, roaming around, wondering where am I going to find a solution, I then just kind of latched on to life long enough to find a pamphlet at a clinic a few months later, maybe 2 or 3 months later, to self-diagnose that I've got clinical depression. And then only once I was self-diagnosed did I then, yet more, maybe 1 or 2 months down the line, when I finally took a bus to KwaZulu by myself to my mom, and I called her at the Durban station. I'm here, come and pick me up. And she was annoyed with me because it was at night and she had work the next day. A few days after I arrived, basically living with my mom again in KZN, I then went on my knees with snot and drana because I already had behavior. I had behavior around my mom that evidenced that I was not okay. I would spend hours in the bathroom, quiet, not coming. I would spend hours in the bathroom, quiet, not coming out, having run a bath. And my mother would not think to even so much as like maybe barge in, because she had her own ensuite toilet that she could use. Just barge in to see if am I alive or what? Because who in the world, when they're that depressed, that has like facial, like it's clear in her body language that this person is forlorn, she's melancholy, and then she is in the bathroom for like 3 hours. Listen, she could be dead. Why are you not checking? Why are you not checking? Why are you not checking? I told you guys that that I was highly suicidal, and the way in which I once upon a time deeply considered doing it was to drown myself in a bathtub. That particular day, I spent hours in the bathtub just contemplating ending my life, and for 3 hours I was in there with these thoughts. And my mother, who was every so often on the phone, alive and well, taking care of my baby sister, etc., did not even once over a 3-hour period open the door to see if I'm still breathing. What in the world? Well, I mean, the whole thought of my friend's commentary when I was in high school that people who commit suicide go to hell was just ringing in my mind so strong in that bathtub that I wanted to go in and drown myself. Listen, I don't even think I would have been able to finish it because I would have probably inhaled the first batch of water and come out immediately and coughed. I was naive. It's like trying to kill yourself by not breathing. As soon as you start to feel weak, you would faint and then breathe because it's just a natural reflex. So you're gonna have to like grab a noose, like a gun, and kill you. So I would not have succeeded to kill myself by drowning myself in a bathtub if I could stand up and actively cough, but I desperately wanted to do it. I desperately wanted to do it, y'all, and after those 3 hours progressed 2.5 to 3 hours, I realized no one was coming for me. Listen to that. I realized that no one was coming for me. This was after all the interventions I could ever possibly embark on. And so I then went in tears after like getting clothed and wearing moisturizer and everything. After getting out of the bathtub, my fingers shriveled up and my toes from bathwater. I finally stood in front of my mom, who was now at that stage lying in her bed, and said, I am depressed and I want to die. I need to see someone. At which point she then, since I was on her medical aid, booked me with a psychologist. That did nothing for me. But thankfully, in the interim, I had gone through an interview process at Liberty Life and everything, and I got the job. If I didn't get that job, I don't know where I would be today. Perhaps Hades. I would have ended my life. I was too depressed to stay alive with no purpose and also with nobody caring. The issue here was not even so much that I didn't have a job or school, nothing. The issue was that nobody cared that I wasn't paid. I was also upset that my mom just flat out refused to pay my fees, and yet she was busy buying furniture for her house, new furniture when she had old furniture, and that was perfectly usable and viable. Furniture of which set up back upwards of hundreds, tens of thousands of rands, which is what my school fees cost. And I was like, you had furniture, why didn't you pay my fees? So I could carry on with school and continue to have purpose. Instead, she just ignored that. So it was just letting me drop out of school that made me frustrated. In first year, she also didn't pay my fees, and then went to Wits University to negotiate to put me on some kind of a loan, where I would then have to pay those fees myself once I start working. In second year, they wouldn't give me the same deal. So basically, I had to drop out. But I was not helped to get a job, nothing. I was just left to writhe. And I had to look for a job for myself. I had to take care, Papa, here it is that I have no resources and I'm expected to somehow find my way in corporate South Africa with nothing and no enablement by family members who were working in corporate South Africa. What would you do when you've got a 17-year-old, 18-year-old that's out of matric, that's just sitting around as a bum at home, when you've got 40 family members that are working in Old Mutual, Standard Bank? Listen, you would try to get them into the call center or something, right? No one in my family tried. No one. Listen, it's just this weird little cold Antarctic atmosphere. And I could not understand why, because it was hard. They will literally RGB telling you, to work in the call center, you gotta have experience. It's an entry-level job, and I gotta have experience. Where did the people who now work there get experience from? At some point, you have to build experience, right? Frustrating. Everybody be like, no, sorry, you need at least 6 months experience. Where am I gonna get 6 months experience unless you give it to me? But finally, ultimately, I wrote a really excellent essay, and I got into a learnership at Liberty Life. But before I was certain that I could get in, that I was accepted, because it was quite a rigorous interview process involving psychometric tests and everything, and what do they call this, case studies and whatnot. Before I finally got the letter in the mail that I was okay, a phone call, to me it was I might not have made it. And so I told the shrink that I'm depressed, right? I went to see her. Essentially, when I went to go see that shrink that first time, I told her that I've got clinical depression. I told her she didn't have to diagnose me. I didn't have to give her my rap sheet, my symptoms. I told her I'm clinically depressed. Papa, I walked in there and I told her my diagnosis, and then only went on to explain to her my symptoms. And one of the questions that she asked me was, what would you do if you don't get this learnership? And I said to her, listen, I don't know. Essentially, I was telling her, I can't guarantee you, and so lie in your face that I'm not going to kill myself. I flat out told her, I don't know, but it's not an option that I should not get this opportunity. I have to get it. I flat out told her I have to get it. I left that shrink's office, multiple sessions that I had, leaving an Indian woman concerned that, listen, this 20-year-old young woman is gonna kill herself, and there is no amount of counsel I can give her, because she is determined to end her life if she doesn't get into this program. I was gonna kill myself. If it was not for the intervention of Jesus Christ, listen, I did not get born again at 20, but the fingerprint of God is all over littered, all over that story, all over. He made sure that I was not maintained in that position because he saw. And even though I had a fear of hell, despite not being sure if it exists, it was not strong enough. I did not have solid enough conviction that it was real to stay alive. So I basically nearly died. But God intervened and kept me alive long enough to finally give my life to him, and now I know him. But you see that apathy from my cousin, that irritation with me when there was evidence of self-harm. That stuff is just all over the black community. Like I told you, black parenting is lazy. I told you about the boy in my class that I just thought was dumb, and it turned out that he just was blind. He couldn't see. He needed glasses. And that was a discovery happening at school at the age of 11 when optometrists came into the school to talk to us about eye care. And then they found out that, listen, there is a blind kid among you, and that's why he's not at the level of all other children in the school, in the class. Black boy. That level of negligence. And understand, like I said earlier, that my primary school was of means. It was a primary school that had kids whose parents were parents of means. And so poverty could not account for why that boy was neglected with such bad eyesight. His parents just did not notice. They just did not notice that our boy can't see. For whatever reason. Here's a boy in a private primary school whose parents don't know that he can't see. On that day, you don't know what's going on with your child. You know the saying, children must be seen and not heard. First and foremost, no, children must be seen and heard. But that boy was not even seen. And so too was I not seen either. We were not seen. My cousins got robbed at Durban Beach just as we got robbed at Durban Beach, and afterwards it became a story over dinner. And I'm even giggling at it because it was funny only because the situation was not worse. There is lazy parenting, and when a child goes back home lamenting about bullying, they're often snubbed, rebuffed, regarded as not lazy, but you're bothering me, like I'm busy. Don't you see I'm busy? I have to live. But do you even know why black parents are that aloof and standoffish towards children? Listen, you guys, you know what? There is a root cause to everything. There is a root cause to everything. In one of my other videos, I believe it might be the one where I was not wearing any makeup, and I was speaking about how it is that I'm changing my trajectory pertaining my message. Like, no longer am I going to be all doomsday, focusing on the fact that we're leaving in the rapture very soon because it's just not healthy. And I spoke about how I was inspired unto that thought by Charlie Kirk's martyrdom because it sparked some kind of a revival. And so I saw that maybe I still have a future. And in that video, I spoke about just the indiscretion of black men and how just men, like men who are full of abuse and misogyny. It's like you were made first, you're Adam. You were made to sleep deeply, put on the ground by God, and from your rib, a woman was made. And I was like, you don't get to, upon being made first, and also given dominion over everything and given the authority to even name animals. You don't get, when you have that kind of mantle to run with, you don't get to, like, be irresponsible with all that which God has given you to steward. You don't get to be made first and not love not only animals that you named, but Eve. You don't get to not love Eve and her children. You don't get to be an irresponsible dad, an irresponsible husband. You don't get to be unloving. You don't get to be aloof, absent, and basically just kind of disinterested in the affairs of the animal kingdom, which you were made to name, right next to people. You don't get to be a patriarch, a head, from which all of the human life essentially was birthed. We as women give birth to children. We are mothers of nations, but listen, men birthed the world through their rib, because even Eve would not have existed apart from Adam. You don't get to be that thing and just be irresponsible with the earth that you have brought forth, or that God has brought forth through your rib. You don't get to be given that kind of haughty responsibility and not rightly stewarded. So therefore, to be misogynistic, hate women, and also in so hating women, therefore produce unloving mothers. What the heck? You don't get to ruin the world like that and expect that God is not going to come with you, come for you. Expect that God is not going to come at you like a time. You don't get to wrongly divide God's kingdom, God's people, God's creation, and not have the Lord come at you. Listen, understand, at the great white throne judgment, Adam and Eve are going to be judged respectively. In other words, both men and women that are evil are going to be judged. But men, you will hold the biggest responsibility for basically turning the world awry from God. Even the letter to the church. Even in the letter to the church at Thyatira. This here is the lament of God through John. This I have against you. You tolerate that woman Jezebel. What that suggests, oh Thyatiran church, what that entirely suggests is that it is within the prerogative of men to rebuke a woman in harlotry. A woman that's out of her place. A woman that has basically abandoned or forsaken her estate. It is within the prerogative of men to bring her to correction. Because if you tolerate her, that's what metastasizes a cancer in a community, in an environment, in an atmosphere. It's written in God's word, in the Proverbs, that an evil woman is like rottenness in the bones of a man. And that a bad girl, a bad woman, tears down her house with her own hands, but a righteous one builds it. So essentially, a bad woman can ruin an entire nation by rotting its patriarchy. She can make the patriarchy choose to live on the corner of a roof rather than share a house with her. And so in all that frustration, struggle to even be an acceptable father to children. So you would much rather spend time out in the street than be in the same house as a contentious wife, and so therefore not be there for children. But what is causing that woman to just keep rapping and rapping and rapping, not stopping, not putting your foot down? But you see, lording it over women with an iron fist was the judgment on Adam, evidencing that if it's a judgment, it is therefore wrong, because you don't get to abuse your power. Because in the second Adam, God tells men to love women the way that Christ loved the church, and the Lord also tells women to submit to husbands. Therefore, if at all Adam is to put his foot down, but he must do so gently, and he must also love her the way that Christ loved the church, it suggests that insofar as, remember, Eve's judgment is, from now on your desire will be for your husband. If it's a judgment, it must be a bad thing, right? If it's a judgment, it must be bad, therefore, for Eve to desire her husband, because it suggests that in so desiring Adam, she's just full of idolatry. She is pinnacling him above God, and her desire is unfruitful and obsessive and irrational. So she would do anything for a guy, even if really and truly it throws away her person as a woman, a wife, a mother, a friend in order to enable the cause of a crazy guy. Pretty much what in the world you would find in the phenomenon of crime couples like Bonnie and Clyde. Out here being ride or die to a crazy dude. You are indeed submissive when you do whatever it is that Clyde wants you to do, Bonnie, but in so being, the wind beneath the wind of a man that is a menace to society. You are an affront to God. Therefore, far be it from you, Adam, to be, not Adam, but Clyde, to be regarded as any kind of wholesome or acceptable in the sight of God, because what have you done with that which I've given you to steward? You've made a woman a criminal, and you have tolerated her criminality, and in so her desiring you hotly has been now prepared to be your literal partner in crime. What is happening in the situation? Adam, you have made a woman commit crimes. My point exactly. A wicked woman, seeing as Eve is the one that beguiled Adam to eat the fruit. You know that happened. She ate first and then was like, I'm not gonna be in this alone. And through by nothing but sheer seduction, beguiled her husband to follow suit in the fall. Therefore, if women have that kind of influence over men, it is the responsibility of men to realize their headship, their authority, to reject it. If at all, it is leading them astray from the Lord. So when you tolerate Jezebel, you are saying as Ahab, I know that you're literally out of your mind, but I am too in love to say nothing, to say anything. I am too besotted to do anything different. I can't lose this. So in running with nothing but your fever, your feist, your loins, you led a woman that you are enchanted by, enthralled by, a woman that you are enamored with, to lead you astray, which is why it's written in God's word that a wicked woman is like rottenness in the bones of a man, while a righteous one is like a crown on his head of glory, and that a wicked woman tears down her house with her own hands. A house is an environment that even though a man might provide for it to make sure that it exists at all as a brick and mortar structure, it is nonetheless kept together and made by a woman. That's why women are called homemakers. Men build brick and mortar houses while women nurture until it feels like home. Now, if a woman tears down a house with her own hands, she is literally destroying, in the grander picture, a country. Yeah.